Thank you for tuning in to episode 258 of This Week in Real Estate, the TWR podcast broadcast live Wednesday, December 20th, 2023. The 2024 Housing Prediction Special. This episode was brought to you by listeners and viewers just like you. I don't have a way for you guys to give me any money yet. I'm not even asking for it. All I'm asking is that you take a brief second and share the show. Send it to somebody in real estate, title company, lender, real estate agent, someone that you think should know exactly what's happening in the real estate industry so that they can operate better. We create one place for you to go and spend about an hour of your time to get all the latest real estate news stories. And today is a very special show in which you, the listener, get to participate with us. So without further ado, I want to dive right into that because I have two very special guests that I want to introduce. And I'm really going to try to keep this one to an hour today. Our prediction specials always run long, but I'm going to try to keep it to an hour today. So first, let me introduce, ladies first, Christina M. Smallhorn. Yay, Christina.
Yay! Howdy.
Hey,
friend.
thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, I didn't know you were coming apart.
But that was a terrible joke that I'm going to use now every time. I'm totally going to steal that one. We also have Mr. Zachary Faust. What's up, Zachary?
What's going on, Ray? How are you, beautiful?
Thanks for joining us today. I appreciate you guys to this. I mean, it's going to be a rip-roaring good time.
Rip-roaring.
Rip-roaring.
Wow.
So our prediction special, what we always do is we talk about a couple of the news stories that are timely. I'm going to dive into some predictions, Zillow's housing prediction, NAR's forecast. We're going to take a look at all those together. And then towards the end of the show, the back half of the show, you, the listeners, are going to get to make predictions about what's going to happen. However, we are a little bit different because we don't just talk about, hey, here's what's happening in 2024. On our show, we look back and see what listeners predicted last year, and me, the host. And we will tell you, this is our prediction, and this is where we are. And we will see just how right or incredibly wrong we were, which was really fun to do at the end of 2019, when we did the prediction special. And then at the end of 2020 to look back and say, well, no one saw the pandy coming. So it's been a historically fun show. If you're on Clubhouse, just raise your hand and you could come up and speak and add your prediction to the show. You don't use chat because I will not be able to pull those out this time. So, and what I'd love for you to do is on YouTube, and then I can display your comment and we can talk about you, or we can talk about your comment. I've got the special I've got the special season's greetings version of the comments. So I guess it just puts your name in cursive. Okay. Matt Lamar said, ain't nobody beating me this time. He's 18 hours early. He said he won't be able to join live. He got a meeting that popped up and he was one of the hosts last week. So he won't be able to rebut anything negative that I say about him or his predictions from last year. I will say this, stay tuned, because at the end we make bold predictions and it's just it could be about anything at all. And Matt was dead on right about one of his bold predictions. So we'll dive into that together. Olivier's joining us. Thank you for joining us, Olivia. And Elizabeth Nightingale. She said,
you're gonna make us wait. I want to know what he was right about.
Well, I mean, that's why you get the whole show, Christina. That's how the YouTube thing works. I don't know if you.
Thank you for educating me about YouTube. I had no idea.
Yes, you're welcome. You're very welcome. For those of you who don't know Christina, she is a YouTube extraordinaire, one of the most viewed real estate agents on YouTube. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, who would beat you?
Graham Stephan by far.
Is he still a real estate agent?
Well, it says it in his bio.
Okay, so he may be the most viewed, but you would still be one of the most viewed.
One of the most viewed. How about the highest viewed female? Yeah,
there you go. Highest viewed female. Barbara Corcoran, she's not a real estate agent anymore, I don't think. So I think you could take that.
Yeah, but that's like I don't count like Ryan Serhan or Barbara Corcoran. I don't count them because they were pushed by media ahead. Like, this is a social media space. I don't count those. They have so you don't behind them.
Count television stars on
No,
Okay.
no.
I
I
like
mean, they
this.
have an unfair advantage. They've already been groomed for this is. If there is somebody that's like picking up their camera and doing YouTube, that's different than somebody that has like a professional editing team and
It's
all they do
true.
is sample or read. It's like not the same, not the same at all.
Okay. I could see. I like that. So I am the most watched bearded real estate agent in Arkansas, broadcasting every Wednesday from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock Central. That is that is my title. I don't think they give you for that, but maybe they should. We also have joining us Zachary Faust. Zachary, where do you do Delaware? Do you cover the whole state? It's a small state. Okay, yeah.
Whole state, PA, Maryland, and soon to be Jersey. Yes, sir.
Oh, really? Wow. So growing like wildfire. And
Yes, sir.
Zachary is one of the most real estate agents on TikTok.
Yes, sir.
I would
Yes,
say
sir,
that's
especially
true.
in Delaware.
The most watched Delaware real estate agent for sure. Yeah,
I
by a
know
long shot.
I know I have the number one. I've been told I have the number one amount of followers as an individual agent on TikTok, but I don't use the platform for mass views anymore. I've kind of taken a bite off of the YouTube train, and
Oh,
niche is working. Niche is working. Even if the video only gets 800 views, 1,000 views, if it's viewed by the right people, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Hey, bud. Can I
See,
get
there
a
you go. Olivier says he's number one according to his mom.
That's all that
pretty good.
matters.
Aw.
I've seen that on a slogan, like real estate agent. It says number one, and in parentheses it says according to my mom. So that's pretty
I
good.
think I had according to my dog in my bio for a little bit.
That's good. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I'm going to jump right into some of this news story. Mortgage demand worse Jackson's wardrobe. It's just kidding. I don't know where that came from, but as soon as I saw the word slip, I was like, oh,
The old 22-year-old joke.
yeah,
Jeez.
that's a really well, it's apropos for something that's coming later, perhaps. Mortgage demand fell last week compared with the previous week, despite a continued drop in sales, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. I'm going to get to this average rate. All right, because we had a prediction, we have rate predictions coming up, but it says the contract interest rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage with conforming loan balance is 6.83%. Now, believe it or not, someone was within a couple of hundredths of a percent on their rate prediction this year. So pretty incredible. With the positive news about the drop in inflation, the FOMC projections proclaiming a pivot towards rate cuts. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage rate reached its lowest level since June of 2023. That's Mike Frenditoni, Mortgage Bankers Association Vice President, Chief Economist. He goes on to say that at least as of last week, borrowers' response to the rate move was rapid. I'm sure it has something to do with people doing Christmas shopping right now and not necessarily, looking to purchase a home, because we saw in the previous week when the rate dipped a little bit, we did see more applications to refinance and we saw more applications to purchase. Let me see where's the exact number on that one?
Not many
Applications
people buy
for
right now. I mean, like let's be honest. Not many people buy right now.
We have a lot of closings happening, but we
Mhm.
don't have a lot of buyers throwing offers in. Well, I say that. I think Matt's writing an offer this morning. Applications to refinance a home dropped 2%. Applications for mortgage purchase declined 1%, but we're still 18% lower than the same period a year ago. So it is still pretty rate sensitive, it seems. All right, I'm going to keep going because I want to crush these news stories so that we can get into the bulk of the conversation, which is our predictions. Zillow 2024 housing market predictions. Let me bring this one up for everybody to see. Bear with me. I'm a professional. You know what I need, Christina?
What do you need?
I need your husband.
You need. You're not the first person to ever say that.
He's your producer and brings these news stories up for you. It's great.
He does.
Okay, Zillow predicts more homes for sale, improved affordability in 2024. The Economists predicted home buyers would have more options and more affordability and breathing room, but after the inventory crunch and mortgage rates rising to its 20-year highs this year, Let's see. Buying a home will remain expensive. More homes will hit the market as homeowners accept that mortgage rates aren't falling anytime soon. That's an interesting prediction given that rates just fell. This was November 3rd, 23. They say rates aren't falling anytime soon. Literally 2 weeks later, rates are down almost a whole percent from what they were at the time this article was written. Higher for longer is the key refrain. They think home buying costs will level off, giving hopeful buyers a chance to catch up. And then new starter home will be single family renter. Though some improvement in the home buying affordability is expected in 2024, many households will continue to be priced out. Demand and prices for single family rentals will continue to increase as families look for more affordable option to enjoy amenities like private backyard. Doesn't exist with the big multi-fams. Trying to pull out anything else that would be artificial intelligence will enhance the home search experience. I mean, I think they're throwing that one out there because of their specific use cases that they're going to say, aha, and see, or we're using artificial intelligence. I mean, we've been using AI on our back end for a year and a half, 2 years now. So I use the Chime, which is now Lofty. And it's pretty cool because whenever you set up a client search in it, the client gets to, they get the emails and stuff, but if they start to do their own search, it will tell you that they're looking outside of your search perimeters. It'll like highlight in blue these little sections that you're not searching for that they are. And so it creates a really nice conversation where you can say, hey, I see that you're searching in this city. Do you want me to add that to your search criteria so that we email those to you, or do you want to keep it where it is? And they may say, no, that was just a couple of houses we were thinking about. We're not interested. Or they may say, yeah, we've been meaning to tell you. Because that happens all the time where they talk about their criteria and then forget to tell the real estate agent. But I don't see how else will AI enhance a home search experience? Can y'all think of a way?
Well, they're going to have like robots. Like you just go to the house and they give you a code and then you walk in and you just see vacant houses and robots will walk you through.
Wasn't that the dream of the iBuyer situation?
Yeah, they were trying that for a hot minute. Do you remember? It was like on a one of those like machines like the mall cops are that go on.
They had an iPad on it.
Yeah, had an iPad that would go around, and then all you had to do is enter in the code. I mean, what could go wrong?
Everything.
Well, I mean, it just sounded genius. What could go wrong?
Well, I had a debate with somebody the other day that's a lender that said that the real estate agent falls out of commission before the lender does. And so that's not even a logical argument because the lender's pretty much already been replaced to a point by online. And if you think AI can get one of us out of here, I think AI could analyze an entire profile and give you all your purchasing options very quickly and do that digitally, more so than like you said, who's going to show up and put the code in and make sure the home's being protected and seen by the proper person and that they're financially pre-approved. There's just so much in there. So I don't see AI being a disruptor.
There's always a way that AI can disrupt.
I don't see it being a disruptor. Well, I don't see it. Yeah, that's true. Okay. I don't see it disrupting real estate agents. I don't see it disrupting the processes that we normally use to take a client through a home search. Gotcha. Also don't see it necessarily overly enhancing that either. But let me show you the problem with why robots will never be showing houses. This is why. I don't know how many seconds I can get away, but these are delivery robots on the streets of LA. And you can see that. I mean, this is just not, it can't get up the street. There's people that are using them that'll like sit on them and around the city. Yeah, there you go. So this is why robots will have a hard time taking over. I mean, look at that. Just got the wheels stuck there.
That would
no matter
never
how much
work
engineering, look at that. I mean, no matter how well they are engineered, they will never be able to beat someone that's just out to get them.
I don't know if you've ever seen the New Orleans sidewalks. That you couldn't even attempt a robot like that in New Orleans. Like the tree roots alone.
Well,
they'd
have to have mud and tires in Arkansas. Half the houses are
same. We flood all the time. So
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about NAR's forecast. I actually love how they did this. So with all the crud I'm giving NAR this year, and because of the lawsuit that they lost and all kinds of stuff, the way they put out their forecast this year, I really appreciate. All right, so here's the forecast. They've got it on there. It's in the newsroom. You guys can Google NAR forecast, NAR 2024 forecast. That's how you can find it easily. They have the key highlights. NAR predicts 4.71 million existing home sales in 2024. That's up 13.5% from 4.1 million in 2023.
Mhm.
Annual median home prices are expected to remain largely unchanged. And the Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Nashville, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. joined 5 other metropolitan areas among NAR's top 10 housing markets with the most pent-up housing demand for 2024. Okay, so they have this nice article write-up, but then they have some links. So this is the coolest part. Lawrence Yun did a full presentation, and they have the entire slide deck available for you.
Mhm.
So you can just download his slides. They also have the full presentation available for you, where I think it's right here. So you can watch the full 1 hour long presentation from Lawrence Yun and the NAR as they're going through this information. So I just thought the way they did this year was really great. I haven't watched the video yet. I've read the report, and I looked through the slides, but I don't remember them doing anything like this as far as presentation to the members. So kudos to them. But basically, they are expecting. I mean, I guess you could say the biggest news here was that existing home sales will be up 13.5%. That's a pretty big jump in a year.
Mhm.
I mean, in order to do that, we'd have to have a lot more inventory hitting the market, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean,
But
that
I
would
think
take
what they're expecting, though, is the inventory to go up because interest rates are coming down and sellers are going to be more willing to give up their 2.5%, 3% interest rate to maybe get into the fives, or they could live with the fives, right? So they'll be more willing to go, all right, let's go ahead and upsize our house. I think that's what they're counting on, hoping for, I guess.
I could see that. I don't know that there's going to be enough to satisfy the demand,
Nope,
but
I
would there
agree.
be enough to jump 13%? Possibly. That's a lot. That's a
We
high
talked-
jump.
We talked about someone had an interesting point about there being this like no man's land right now, like the area where demand will increase with interest rates going down, but we won't unlock much more inventory. And they were talking like 5.7 to 6.3. We get a lot more buyers to come to the table with no more listings. But then if we get to like 5.5 and lower, he was talking like 5.3 being kind of like the golden number to be like, all right, now, like you said, we have sellers that are willing to look at their 2 and 3 and 4% interest rates and think, okay, well, it's just 5.25. I could probably sell.
Hmm.
Yeah. There was a stat, what was it, 3 or 4 months ago that we covered that said 78% of buyers were waiting on 5.5% in order to jump into the market and buy.
Mhm.
And they redid that survey about a month ago, and that number went down from 78 to in the 60s, low 60s. So around 18% or so of folks said, I'm okay. I'll go ahead and buy at this rate. So I think as the more people feel that it's normal, and maybe the more they get a little bit of savings, the more uncomfortable they feel in their current home, I think they're going to be jumping out of their houses. Somebody said that there's audio cutting in and out. If you're on YouTube and you hear audio cutting in and out, let me know and I'll check my audio settings. But I think I'm good on my end, so it might just be
Sound
the
good to me.
stream. Okay. Next up is Forbes. Forbes said hopeful home buyers are getting a welcome holiday gift: declining mortgage rates. Since hitting a 2023 high in late October, the average 30-year fixed rate has receded by over 0.5%. Housing market forecast for 2024, Forbes says 2023 was a demoralizing year for many aspiring home buyers. Even so, affordability challenges will continue in 2024. Pent-up demand and low inventory will generally bolster prices and keep prices elevated. Elevated mortgage rates will remain. When will the housing market recover? All right, so this is a quote from Gumbinger. For the best possible outcome, we'd first need to see inventories of homes for sale turn considerably higher. This additional inventory, in turn, would ease upward pressure on home prices, letting them off or perhaps helping them settle back from the peak or near peak levels. Do you guys think enough demand will be there to recede home prices? Or not enough demand, but enough inventory will be there to kind of recede home prices a bit?
To me, the only thing that's going to cause home prices to recede is if we have a collapse of the jobs market. That's my opinion. I don't see that. I don't think they can't believe. They can't build enough inventory for what we need to make a significant change in home prices. So unless there is a reason that people are going to, they're physically, financially hurt enough that they have to sell their home, that's the only way we're going to see a huge deduction in home prices. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that opinion.
Well said. I third it.
Yeah. Whether job market or just like 2008 was a third party factor or variable. It was the mortgage industry. Student debt could collapse. We have these wars impending overseas.
Student loans. More than half haven't paid when they were due in October. More than half. First payment.
Really?
Yep.
Did they think it was going to be forgiven or
something? Wasn't it the highest number or the highest percentage of all time?
The highest that hadn't paid all at once. Yeah. That was. I think some people didn't know. Like you get the it's going to be due. Yeah. You've been telling me that for months. I'm on a forbearance basically. They didn't know, and then now So now they're not. They're getting. Some of them are saying, you can't squeeze a dry prune. I have no money left. I can't pay you. Like I don't know because the cost of living has gone up so high.
Yeah.
And so they can't pay that payment. So they're willing to just kind of like, oh, well, I can't pay it. I mean, I can't afford to live anyway. What are you going to do? Tell me I can't buy a house? So, I can't buy one anyway.
Yeah. That's what the Forbes article kind of says, that the affordability will have no relief in sight. It'll continue to go up. Housing market. Will the housing market crash in 2024? Despite a rapid drop in unsustainably home prices due to waning demand remains low. The likelihood of that remains low. Experts point out that today homeowners stand on much more secure footing than those coming out of 2008.
What are the housing crash bros going to do?
I don't know. What kind of content are they going to start making?
How are they going to whip that into crash?
I know a normalization of the market, a levelization of home prices, a normalization of high interest rates. Like, one of the questions I asked last year is, what's the biggest news story? And one of the hosts last year said, no news. There's not going to be a big news story because, what is the biggest thing that's going to happen in the economy? Nothing. It's just going to level out. But that doesn't do anything for the housing crash bros.
Well, I love I was using there for a hot minute, the great stagnation. What's that? That made it sound scary.
That's a great thumbnail.
Thank you.
All right. Realtor, they have the Realtor.com. I'm sorry, not us, the Realtor.com. They also have a prediction out. I like how they give this forecast and then they also look back and see what they predicted last year. So they're the only one that I've found so far that sees how right or wrong they were.
They're ready to own up to their mistakes.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, that's big of them. 2024 housing market. It says, let's see, the forecast for key housing indicators in 2024, they believe mortgage rates will be 6.8 average and end at 6.5. The 2023 year predictions, they predicted 6.9, year end 7.4. Not far off. Then they have the historical data there too. Existing home median appreciation, they think it's only going to go up negative 1.7%. Existing home sales, they think will go up 0.1%. Last year, they predicted negative 19. And wait, where was it? They were wrong. Basically, it didn't do anything. Yeah. Single family housing starts. They predicted. They predict in the coming year 0.4%. So they're also looking at a flattening of everything.
Again?
Yeah, they think it's just gonna level out. Home prices expected to dip 1.7%. So they are thinking the home prices are going to dip. You can see the chart here and where we are today, or when they were making that prediction for the last data that they had. But it's kind of made this upward trending hill, I guess you could say, almost like an N or a cursive R. It's like this upward hill all the way up, and it went way up in 2020, of course. And now they're thinking that this trend will start here, just like it has been for years down here, that it won't have this rapid escalation that we had in the last couple of years. That probably made no sense to audio listeners, but sorry. Just thinking through what I just said there. Let's see. With many of the same forces at play heading into 2024, the housing chill will continue, with sales expected to remain essentially unchanged at just over 4 million.
The great stagnation continues in 2024.
Gonna use that. Even fewer existing home sales, mortgage rates. Yeah, I think we've already kind of gone over that. Okay. The last couple I want to get to real fast, and then we're gonna make some predictions ourselves. Fannie Mae, Redfin predicts that 2024 will be the year that home buyers catch a break, with home prices falling and new listings rising. So based on their data and based on what they're looking at, they are thinking that there's going to be some relief for buyers. Fannie Mae, NBA Economist, still expects a mid-2024 recession, but they're really kind of referring to the economy and not so much the housing market there. The article is on Inman. There's also the full report that you guys can get from Fannie Mae. But the way the article is stated, it seems like they're thinking like, oh, it's a recession, home prices going down, etc. That's not really what they're saying. They're saying that the economy will experience a recession. But their home price forecast, I think, it would just kind of level off. It wouldn't be a huge increase. So there's a lot of people.
We weren't in a recession beforehand, but next year we'll be in a recession.
Yeah, they keep saying recession. I think this is one actually that they said we would be in a recession this year. I can't remember who it was now. Shoot. They said we would be in a recession this year, and they had to take it back. And they were like, actually, we're not. We were wrong last year. But this year, this year's the next one for the recession.
This is the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm double checking these numbers and make sure I got everything that we're going to talk about. Okay, Grant Cardone. Now, what's funny, Christina actually sent me this article to cover today. And what's funny about it is if you watch the interview, the newscaster says, and we have
Cardone,
a private fund manager, Grant Cardone.
I love that.
You know how to eat his ego alive.
Oh my gosh, yes. But he didn't mention it. He didn't say anything. He just flow. It's going to autoplay an ad here in a second. So sorry, Clubhouse listeners. He just kind of went with the flow, which kudos to him for doing that. Like he wasn't like, oh, it's Cardone.
Yeah.
But he also mispronounces words. I mean, have you heard him say the word mortgage? He says mortgage.
That could be that Louisiana.
Yeah, he's got that accent. Yeah.
And now that I've said that, every time you watch him, he's talking about mortgages. You won't be able to unhear it. And because I think one of the first times I was watching him, he started talking about mortgages, and I was like, I can't, like, my brain couldn't process what he's saying, like the words. Just like, what is he talking about? And then I had to like slow it down to a mortgage.
I say horrible instead of horrible. I say horrible. So maybe it's a Louisiana thing.
Mortgage is horrible. He said,
mortgage is horrible.
he said, I just want to say that we're entering the greatest real estate correction of my lifetime. Private equity fund manager Grant Cardone told Fox and Friends on Thursday. It's a real estate correction going to be a great opportunity for individuals, regular, everyday people who actually grab trophy real estate from institutions. It's never happened. This has never happened in the country. It's going to be epic levels, he stressed.
He is so
okay. So,
wrong.
well, you got to parse his words because he's right in a very specific instance.
Okay.
If you listen to the interview, which they don't really in the article, they don't really point this out. They don't even say it at the end. So if you watch the interview, what actually saying is that there will be a recession in the multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
And that it would be a great opportunity for individual investors to pick up multifamily from institutions because they're not making the numbers that the institution needs them to make, and so they're going to sell them. And
so
in that specific instance, we've already seen. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. We got a little bit of delay.
No, so I was just saying it. So he's basically saying that institutional investors are going to be giving up multifamily properties that they've been using for rentals.
Yes.
Wow. I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
Basically, well, what we're seeing is right now in the multifamily sector are these institutional investors that have overproduced big multifamily complexes. And back in 2020, 2021, it seemed like every other person on Clubhouse was someone looking for a multifamily private equity deal. And I think you've had a lot of those deals there, and those big groups have numbers they have to hit and get it back to the investors, or they have to sell, or they have to liquidate. They have to somehow make those payments. So if the numbers aren't working because of the oversaturated multifamily market, if they're not able to get for rent what they thought they would get, then those properties are going to be available for sale. And I don't know, there's probably not a ton of individual investors that'll just purchase an apartment complex, but we have a couple that we're working with that want some. So I think it could happen. But if you have to, like the other day, Grant, I think I covered this on last week's show, but Grant Cardone was saying that, we're going to be a renter nation. He kept saying we're a renter nation.
Too. He said that on that interview too. Mm-hmm.
If you listen to his description of renter nation right after that, is he believes that if you have a mortgage on a property, you're renting it from the bank. Well, if he's saying that more people will be mortgaging properties, but because the rates are going to be lower. So if his definition of renter is you don't own it outright, you're paying the bank, then so I think that's how he gets away with the incendiary comments where then you have the supporters say, oh, he's right. He's using different definitions.
He had a little housing crash bro moment himself, though. Just saying.
He did, yes, which we did point out on this show. He and Susie both.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last thing I want to get to before we get into our housing market predictions is this TikTok trend.
Do you dance,
is
Zach,
the
for your
US
TikTok trends? No, do you do the TikTok dances?
No, not
Oh,
one.
okay.
It's not
one.
that kind of trend.
Just referrals. That's it. No trend.
But now that you're doing that, though, I think that was probably, that was great.
That should be a trend we use. That was great.
We'll make it a trend. Okay, so watch this trend, and then we can comment about it. I want to hear your
I see
thoughts
this
on
guy
it.
all the time.
A silent depression. When you compare the Great Depression to today, this is going to absolutely blow your mind. In 1930, during the Great Depression, the average home in America was $3,900. The average car was $600, and the average monthly rent was $18 or $216 a year, and the average salary was $1,300 for the year. Fast forward to today, it is $436,000 for the average home, 48 grand for the average car, and the average rent is $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year. And we have a $56,000 income for the average American right now. So if you look back to the Great Depression, the house was only 3 times the average salary. Now it is 8 times the average salary. The car was 46% of the salary. The car today is 85% of the salary. And here's the craziest part. The rent was 16% of the average salary. It is now 42% of the average salary.
Okay. So what's your take? Obviously, it was better to live in 1923 than it is today, right?
I think that's a takeaway. I think all of us just want to flash forward back to then. I think there's numbers like that. I mean, gosh, there's so much inflation that's happening. There's wars that have gone on since then. There's so much economical change since 1930. I hear what he
like
was,
you could have a heart attack and not die. Like
Yeah,
1930,
if you had the cold
What?
in 1930, you had to start making funeral plans.
yeah.
So it is a
Your
different
average
world.
age expectancy was like 57. So
Yeah, you know what they
What I-
also
what
had
I
in 1923 that they don't have now? Bread lines. That's what they
Yeah.
had in 1920. If you wanted to buy some bread, you had to go stand in line and hope that you got it that week.
yeah.
Where
No,
see his
I do
point
like
in-
his comparisons though.
Yeah.
I've watched him several times, and the thing, his whole point, his shtick on his channel is that he was always comparing boomers against millennials, and why the avocado toast isn't necessarily the reason why they can't afford a home. So he's using those comparisons to make it very simplified for the average viewer to understand and conceptuate in their minds. I get what he's doing, and of course, it's kind of silly, but it gets a good perspective to somebody that doesn't know anything about real estate, that it is a lot harder, that boomers, like, you have to understand where millennials are coming from. This is why they can't buy a house. It's not because they're lazy. This is all the other comparisons. That's I don't know. I like the guy. Do I like every take he takes? No, but I think it's a good representation, a good way to look at things.
It doesn't seem like a bad guy, but I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of other factors that, especially if you're, I mean, the leaps forward that we've made in the economy, in social statuses, I mean, it's just been huge since 1923. So it's definitely, there's an article actually that breaks it down and breaks down some of his comparison and says that it's just basically he's using a very, very simplified, very
Right.
small portion of the numbers that look good for 1923. But when you look at 1923 as a whole, it was terrible.
Right. Yeah.
Housing,
I mean,
the number of people that owned a house at that time, I think was in the 40% range. The number of people that currently own a house in the US is 65%. So home ownership, even though affordability is tough, home ownership is through the roof. And that may be one of the reasons why affordability is tough, because you have people selling a home and using that equity. You have more wealthy people because of real estate.
absolutely.
So it's kind of one thing that's serving the other. Okay. Well, let's get into it. It's time. I don't think I was really wanting to do the soundboard and get something, like very, but all I have is an air horn. So
Better
there you
move
go.
forward.
Here I got a little scratch. I got a little scratch action. I'm afraid if I hit anything else on the board, because I had this board set for a mastermind, but it's all like copywritten. Okay. So first up, let's look at the biggest news stories. On the prediction special last year, we had Matt LaMarche, we had Scap the appraiser, me and Dan. Matt said and people dropping out because they have to work really hard for the same result would be a big news story. Scap said it'll be flat across the board. There's no big news. And Scap would be an agent. Dan said that DeSantis would beat Trump, which is not looking good for that prediction right now. And then Ray said that Joe Biden would be put in a home. So They did have to put Joe Biden in a home, so I missed that one. The most accurate one so far was Matt. So if I was getting points there, it definitely would go to Matt. Oh, I do have to also say that if you want to make a prediction this year, drop it in the comments on YouTube. And for whatever reason, maybe our channel wasn't big enough at the time or whatever, but when I watched the replay, it didn't show me the live comments. So drop it in the comments, because now our channel has the ability to rewatch and watch the replay with the live comments. So we'll get all your predictions in there. The only ones I pulled from comments last year were the ones that commented and I displayed on the screen. So I'll be doing some of that too. So what do you think? Well, yeah, what do you think was the biggest news story of 2023? And if you're in the comments, you can also put it there too.
What was the biggest news story?
What was the biggest news story? It could be real estate adjacent. Didn't have to be real estate related. Well,
the $1.78 billion lawsuit against real estate agents. That was the number one. That I would say was the biggest news story in real estate this year.
I would agree with that. That's the one I thought of immediately was Sitzer Burnett.
I knew that would be something I could make a video on, so I did a live stream about it, and that was my number one live stream. Like people watched that an hour and a half long live stream about that, and it was number one. I think it has over like 30,000 views to it, over an hour and a half live stream.
If I just look at views and view count, the biggest news story, because we break them out into shorts and then channel, the biggest news story is the handyman named Flash that removed the squatters from his mom, renting the house from his mom and getting the renter's rights. And he was able to remove the squatters, but he couldn't do that if he only had the owner's rights. That apparently is the biggest news story, according to views. That's got like 1.6 million views, which is nuts.
That's the biggest landlord hack of all time.
I mean, it is a pretty great landlord hack, honestly. It's And Jack, Olivier, Scap, you guys in Clubhouse, y'all feel free to chime in on what the biggest news story of 2023 was. It's hard for me to think of something bigger that's real estate related. Of course, there's war. Elizabeth Nightingale said war in Gaza. Yep. She said it will affect the economy globally. Ukraine.
I have a landlord question for you, Ray.
Okay.
I had a car hit one of my rental properties. The car like went through the living room. It was inside the house. Just happened last week. So what insurance company pays for that damage? It was surprising to me.
That would be a multi. So the owner's insurance would pay for the damage to the home. The renter's insurance would pay for the damage to the properties, like TVs and stuff that were knocked, but go after the insurance who drove the car, I would think.
Correct.
Is that all right?
Got it right. That is correct. You got it right. So originally the insurance company called us of the guy who hit the car. But they were being weird. So then our insurance company who insures the house, Tower Hill, called them and said, okay, since you're not playing nice, we're going to take over this. But my renters that live there wanted the company to pay for their television that was ruined. But I think it's because they're renters, they don't get that covered.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, unless they have their own renter's policy, that's the only time that they would get that covered.
That's what I would think. So they called and made a claim on their television. I found out that wasn't even working prior to it getting hit, by the way.
That's a wild situation.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a weird occurrence.
Yeah. Send your pics.
Okay, Pete Thorpe. What's up, Pete? Pete missed the show last year. We had a couple of his predictions that were one was way off, but he had one that was right on. He said Zillow buying Follow-Up Boss is a close second. Okay. Trump off the ballot in Colorado will come up now too. I don't know if that's going to hold though. That seems like it's going to be reversed, but I agree. The Zillow buying Follow-Up Boss was a big deal if you were a Follow-Up Boss user. Let's see what else. Inflation was a huge news story for 2023. The lawsuit, Olivier says, I think so too. Scap, he said I became a mortgage broker. He thought he was going to become a real estate agent. Instead, he became a mortgage broker. Scap the appraiser and now mortgage broker.
Just go ahead and get your real estate
Okay,
license
so
too. Add it all on there.
I know, just do it all,
Just
man.
do it all.
One-stop shop. Okay, so for this
But
year,
Ray,
yeah. What's up,
Ray,
Aiden?
that does make sense, though, Ray. That SCAP would also become an MLO, and that's because, like, he's going to be able to take advantage of some refinance, boom, because of the the rates,
Yeah.
trending downward.
True. Now we'll be able to make money on both sides. No, I don't think he can do it. He can't do it at the same time. Okay, so predictions.
No. Not allowed to do that. I had to give up my any kind of lender work to do this mortgage loan officer stuff. But I can already say I'm much happier doing this right now than running around all over a billion miles to do appraisals for everybody and get yelled at all the time. So it's a lot nicer here.
Well, I just need you to measure a house. No, okay, so what is going to be the biggest news story for 2024? Biggest news story for 20 prediction. I'm going to say the loss on appeal for NAR.
I was going to say more states falling in the lawsuits and them losing. I think they're going to lose more out of because it was just in one specific state, and then more states were. So I think they're going to start losing more and more unless they get a better team. Our dues should pay for their attorneys a little bit better.
Well, we
don't
paid
have the
like
dream
$56
team.
million for the marketing. I think we only gave the attorneys $8 million, but now that it costs us $6 billion, maybe that's going to be reversed.
Yeah, maybe they need to vet their dream team a little bit better.
Zach, what do you think the biggest news story for 2024 will be?
I don't know if it's the biggest, but I think I don't see Jerome Powell being able to, with the Fed, stick to this plan. I think a big story would be, not getting through this cut strategy that they're saying. And I think the market gets too good too quick and we send ourselves right into the same problems. And it could either stop or, hey, maybe even rate hikes come back. And I think there's a lot of positive long-term things that can come from things staying a little bit tougher a little longer.
I totally agree with that. From everything I'm seeing, the looks of it, I would definitely say that's up there.
They've also never been able to stick to one of their other plans either. So
yeah, it's true. Oh well, and they had a plan out there, and then I made a prediction on it. We'll get to it in just a second. It's pretty interesting. All right, interest rate predictions are coming next, so get those ready. Pete Thorpe said election will 100% dominate the year. Rates will be driven down to tout a good economy. Election year.
I concur, Pete.
Yeah,
I concur.
Yeah, that's not a bad one. Elizabeth said, "Can we get a refund?"
Ray, did you know that 40 countries in 2024 will actually be electing their world leader? 40 countries.
Everybody's new in the building.
Everyone is new in the building.
That is crazy. The 40 world leaders are changing. Question though, how much though, obviously the blue sector right now being the ones hoping they could make the economy look a little bit better leading into that election. How much control, if any, do they have over that?
Well, they control the narrative more than they control the numbers. But if
the
they
actual
can
heart
produce some numbers, they have to find some numbers that look kind of good. And it's the spin machine. All right, let's get into rate predictions. Matt said the rate would be 5.75. Scap said 5.85. Dan said 5.5. Ray said 6. However, I also said that the Fed would the Fed rate. Oh, I nailed the Fed rate hikes and the rate hold at the end of 2023. I actually said that he would raise the rate a certain number of times, and then at the end he would pause, and that's exactly what he did. Christina Smallhorn said in the comments 6.5% last year. Good job, Christina. It's pretty close. Howard said 6. Dusty said below 6, 5.895. Melissa said 5.83. Peggy said 5.75. Julie Moon said 3.85. Very optimistic, Julie Moon. Totally wrong. But Mike, who's not here with us today, Mike Velez, and I actually sent him, I was like, Mike, you got to join today. He said that the rate would be 6.875.
Whew.
He said that the rates would average over 7% in 2023. Lots of lenders would be gone and a skeleton of what they were, Rocket Better, Loan Depot. Fewer investors would be willing to put into the MBS market. Mike was like dead on right. So the rate is right at, I think it's 6.83. Didn't I say that earlier today?
I thought it was 675. I thought that's what it was, or 679.
Okay. Conforming.
I do have to jump off here right at 2 there, Ray.
Okay, no worries.
So if you're using Mortgage News Daily, it's 6.4.
Always do the same. Always do the same one. All right, Zach, what is your prediction for 2024 rates?
Oh, rates. Like I said, I think we're going to be a little bit more. I'm more on the pessimistic side. I think they come down. I think we don't need to see the 5s this year to maintain a healthier market. And I speak selfishly for Delaware as a place where people from Jersey, PA, New York, Maine, and all the way up the Northeast are coming to. And so we have no problem with demand, even when rates are high. It really just makes selling difficult and first-time homebuyers have an opportunity. I think 6.5 is where we end at next year. I think that's a firm number that we could still have a healthy market at. And honestly, like you said at the beginning, right? I mean, how long do the rates have to be up here for people to be like, this kind of just is what it is. We got to make do with it.
I concur. The rate, what I always do is I have this phrase that I put into Google to get the exact thing, and it returns the rate. It says 6.83% at the time that this was recorded. That was updated 5 hours ago. So Mike nailed that one. Christina, what do you think the rate's going to be for at the end of 2024?
I was going to say 6.5, but since he said it, I'll be 6.65. How about that?
I thought you were going to go Wheel of Fortune on me and go like 6.51.
6.6. Yeah. 6.51.
6.65.
I'm going to go with a 6.25. I'm a little more optimistic.
More optimistic.
I don't think they can stop it. I think the economy is pretty strong. It's going to be tough for them to stop. Plus the election year, I think they're going to try to keep it low.
Until prices keep going up and people get mad again.
That's true. That's going to happen. Okay. So y'all drop your rate predictions in the chat. Let's talk market.
Market.
Right. Scap last year said the market stays flat. He said there's not going to be a ton of foreclosures, maybe a little bit. Matt said people seem to be acting faster than they were. Ray said foreclosures could be double of 2019, but it's not going to be that big of a deal because of pent up demand. That's actually not happened. Aspirational sales prices will go down. Ray predicts 8 months of supply. I just checked. It was 6.5, I think. So it hasn't really moved that much at all. He thinks there will be leftover homes in September, October that are dropping their prices. That's true. And offering concessions. And that's true. Dan thinks it'll be flat, not much of a market. What do you predict for 2024, the market?
I think when it comes to foreclosures, we're going to see a lot more VA foreclosures because the forbearance plan that on VA loans got wackadoodle. And people thought that they were going to be able to tack their payments all the way to the end. When they stopped the forbearance program, it was a balloon payment and they couldn't pay that. So there's a lot of VA right now. They're going through this process of being foreclosed on because they can't make that payment. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing when it comes to foreclosures. We're going to see a lot more VA foreclosures unless the government steps in and stops all this from happening.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, they would, you think they would do that? That would be good optics, especially in an election year.
You think.
Maybe they planned it that way, actually, so they could try to push something through during the election year.
Look, but there's people already losing their houses. So no,
I think that Delaware specific, we were up 10.5% year over year in price points. I think we fall to closer to a 3 to 4% number increase year over year, kind of more of a standard price point appraisal or price point increase year over year. And I think it's just kind of quiet. I think we see more realtors slowly and quietly take it out of their bio, more lenders get into the food industry, and there's just a little bit more pain in our industry. We're paid a lot, and there's a lot of us. And I think this is a worthwhile purge in one way, shape, or form, which is another reason that I quietly cheer for higher rates.
I never have, whenever there was the first collapse of the real estate market during that time, the amount of people that started in my office were, and then by 2 years later had dwindled down to like 5 agents in this little tiny office. I don't think it was
But
necessarily
look at you
a bad
now
thing.
because of it. Look at you now because of it, right?
Right, right. I don't think it's
yeah.
necessarily a bad thing. Like
Yeah.
the strong will survive.
Oh, yeah.
And every time that we ever had a lull in the market, I'm like, that's okay. It gets all the weirdos out for a while, you know.
Hey, pleasure speaking with y'all. Pleasure going
man.
through this.
I'll see
Can't
you
wait
later.
to see all my predictions wrong next year. So,
Hey, the only thing I
y'all
need
later.
you to do, send me your bold prediction. Just any kind of big bold prediction. I'll add it to the show notes for next year.
Yes, sir. Oh, bold prediction. Third party force collapse. If there's a bold prediction, we have some like kind of economic collapse. The dollar implodes on itself. This whole BlackRock crypto thing gets things all crazy. Third party affairs in these other countries get us all jacked up. I'm a little Mad Max with that. I think that could happen too. So
I love this. Okay.
Do you want my bold prediction?
yes, I want to hear it now because I gotta go.
Weather events is going to make insurance premiums so incredibly high that people are going to be forced to sell.
And the government's making the hurricanes happen
And
too.
the
All right, y'all,
government's
I'm
making
out.
the But I do think
I'll see you
climate
later,
change
buddy.
is going to cause some problems for people. I think with insurance, I think that's going to be more and more people are going to be forced to sell because they can't afford their insurance premiums.
Interesting. So people, what about like people in the Airbnb situations, holding some vacation rentals and properties right on the
Right.
water? Will be forced.
So she's right, Ray. She's right. So I think it's Palm Springs or the Coachella Valley, but they're raising the insurance, the HOI, so the homeowners insurance
Yep.
premiums up to like 40 something percent from like 12% or something really like normal. And yeah, the insurance premiums on homeowners insurance are gonna they're gonna go through the roof. The other thing that I have not heard anybody mention is kind of like what the commercial real estate or the banks that hold a lot of commercial loans. Those banks that possibly might be failing in 2024, and because those banks fail because of their underperforming commercial loans, how is that going to affect the real estate, the residential real estate industry? Like that part I do not know, but I think that there's going to be more banks collapsing in 2024 associated with bad commercial debt.
That's a good prediction.
Yeah, that's a great prediction. I think there's going to be so for my market prediction for the coming year, I think everyone that thinks that the start of 2024 is going to be good and great because the rates are going to drop a little bit, those agents are going to be sorely disappointed as they find out just how hard it is to find those buyers a home. So I do agree. I think there's going to be less agents moving forward in 2024, especially when they have to renew at the end of the year after this last year. They may try to get it till January. Then we're going to see some historic numbers of declines. I think we'll also see a lot of agents that are individual agents right now move to teams. I think we'll see a lot of teams that are teams right now or teamerages take shelter with partnerships with other larger brokerages. So I think teams were a good idea. Teamerage was a good idea. But when people start seeing that they're paying all this money for a rent and their agents aren't using it, they're going to be like, well, why aren't we just using someone that takes that overhead off of us? So I think the cloud thing is going to be bigger than ever and more people are going to go that way. But the market itself, I think it's still going to be a seller's market. I think you're going to see builders in the higher end of the market offering lots of concessions. Builders towards the lower end of the market, if they can build in that market and make money, they are going to make tons of money. Right now, new construction makes up about 30% of purchases, which is about double what it normally is. I don't see that trend reversing. I think new construction is going to continue to be a big part of it, and it could be a boom for builders that are building in the right price points.
Bingo. I was just going to say, if they could do it in that affordable range,
Yeah.
the affordable price point range, if the average home, let's just say, is around $430,000, if they start making homes just at $400,000 in that range, they'll sell like hotcakes.
Yeah. It could be the year of tiny home developments instead of just tiny homes.
Even like 1,100 square foot. there's nothing wrong. Like we
Yeah.
have those, like the little 1,100 square foot houses. They're cut up really nice.
The thing that everyone's waiting on though is the approval for alternative materials. I mean, cities, they got to loosen some of those constraints so you can get in there and build it with some materials that work for tiny homes in a way that you can't use it for a large home because cost.
Tiny homes are considered anything under 600 square feet, right? But like a hybrid between the two would be like 1,000 square feet.
Small.
So I think that could be a good compromise for jurisdictions, because they're like tiny homes that brings in hippies. But if you said 1,000 square feet, little houses,
Yeah, true. I like that.
I go to these meetings and they're always like, those are just a bunch of druggy losers that don't know how to get a paycheck. And that's why they want to live in a tiny house. They're so clueless. But,
Dusty said, Ray, those are called trailer parks. No, it's different. That's funny.
See what I'm talking about? Like, they're like, those are just trailer parks. They don't know.
Dusty's in Arizona.
Housing,
Dusty's got a lot of trailer in Arizona.
I love them. They're great investment properties, just saying.
Okay, I made a note that last year at this time I had someone at the door for the second year in a row. Would it happen again this year? No, not happening this year. There's no one at my door. Bold predictions. So here were last year's bold predictions of our listeners and people that commented. Dusty said, wait, she just, I've yet to see a tiny home that wasn't on wheels. There's a lot of them. Like, they are
very
here.
much so. Go watch my channel. I show them all the time.
That's for real. Okay. Peggy said Compass will face financial failure or have to file for reorganization. That was her bold and only prediction. She said that was a bold prediction and it wasn't far off. They were into some trouble. They wound up doing a lot of layoffs and kind of rescued it there at the end. So I didn't think they had to file for reorganization, but they did some reorganization themselves for sure. Vince Kleinnucht says that SCAP would break 80 in 2023. SCAP, did you do that? Did you break 80? I don't know if he's still here. Matt said that activity was going to be weird in the first 3 to 6 months where it feels like nothing is happening, but it's a great opportunity for good agents. That's got this year. Agents are going to have to get creative with lead generation and find some new ways to find leads and new ways to add value. Then for his other... Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was saying that if you're a real estate agent, I always say you have to be a marketer first, then a real estate agent. Learn how to market. That's if you don't know how to do that yet, that's what you should be doing for 2024.
There you
Market.
go.
That's absolutely correct.
Matt's big bold prediction. This is crazy because he got this exactly right.
Ooh.
Kind of. He said a new technology would be invented that changes the way we communicate with each other. A new social media presence. Now think back. It took me a minute.
You're talking about Threads?
Yeah. Threads became the fastest growing social media network.
Who uses it now?
And well, I
signed up and never used it.
There's a lot of, right now I get followers every day on there. Most of them I think are probably OnlyFans girls, but I get a follower every day. I really poo-pooed it for a long time.
OnlyFans accounts, and then you wouldn't have that problem.
What they found out though is that when someone follows you, it shows a picture of them. So every person they follow, they get shown that, that's what's happening. So Threads is going to have to do some work on that. But because then they appear in your feed as like, hey, this person followed you. And I don't want that in my feed. Yeah. But Threads was absolutely enormous. And had it stayed enormous, I would say Matt would be exactly right. But instead, I think he's exactly right, kinda, because it's already waned off that platform, as you're saying, Christina. So I am looking for great ways to use it. I started trying to use it to connect with just local people, and that kind of worked, kind of didn't work. So
I think we have to figure out who's actually on it and using it. Like who's on and that, because you're trying to discover the avatar that's that loves it, right?
Right.
So who's on there? Like
who's the
I think that would be the number one thing. Like I would need to see their demographics, How long are they spending on there? What are they watching? I want to know who the avatar that is using Threads religiously. Like they can't wait to open the app, and then I would make content around that. Just saying.
I like that. And most of it's like, well, I guess you can put videos on there too, but there's a lot of text. Let's see. And he predicted that TikTok would be legislated out of the U.S. That did not happen, so no points for that.
They try every year, every month. Every month they come up with some other thing. They're
trying it again, actually. Dusty says Hunter Biden goes to jail. There's still a little time left in that. He didn't wind up in jail after he stood up the Senate committee. We'll see. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen, though he has been in more hot water this year than he was last year, I think. Scap says Zillow will come back with a vengeance market by fixing their algorithm, which I pointed out on the show that was like their hardest thing to fix. And I didn't think they would come back like that, but they would try to find a way. I think the purchase of Follow Up Boss was their way to find relevance. Ray said, Ray thinks that they will start leaning into agents. Zillow would start leaning into agents. Dan said that they would start leaning towards consumers. So I was right on that one. He did think there would be some type of technology that would change how realtors do business as far as transaction goes from start to finish. And Scap said that he would sell houses, but I think he only financed them. Dan's big, bold prediction was that DeSantis would get the nod over Trump, which hadn't happened yet. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Mr. Lifts man ain't getting it.
Yeah. Dan also predicted that the DOJ would continue to be after NAR, and that is true. Because they even went back on their settlement this year. Dan thinks the count will go down, agent count will go way down. Because people will be fed up with the writing with the brand. And then Matt shoots 77 before Scap. So for that last part, he's also right. I mean, the huge membership dip is especially since big major companies are no longer making it mandatory that people join and stay with NAR if their area doesn't require it for them to be a member of the MLS. So it is a huge membership drop. Go ahead.
Ray, what's that thing that they have in Canada? It's like an acronym. It sounds like the Dallas Fort Worth acronym DFW, but it's a 3-letter acronym. It starts with a D, but it's essentially like brokers in Canada got together and formed like their own kind of like MLS. And apparently it's working extremely well. Not only that, but check this out. This is in that same room I discovered that Canada is like not even waiting to get sued. So in Canada, they're already proactively things that what just happened or what's continuing to happen in the United States with regards to commissions, that they're like being proactive, that they're already mandating it as soon as January 1st, but all throughout Canada, it's going to be very, very transparent the way that the both sides understand clearly who's paying the commission and how commissions are paid. Yeah. So, but what was fascinating about that call that I was on with the Canadians was like, I did not know that they had this thing like DDF or something like that. And it sounded like a best practice. It was like, wait, what? Yeah. They're like, yeah, it works very, very well. But I just forgot what that acronym is.
Olivier is he's not in Clubhouse anymore, but he would be the one to ask that. That's interesting. I'm trying to Google it, but every time I Google Canadian MLS, the soccer comes up. So I'll have to find it later. Scab says my bold prediction, Ray actually keeps the end of your show to an hour when he says he will. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm trying. We're close. All right. So the last part of the bold predictions for last year, Ray says NAR will finally launch a consumer facing MLS. This was the 3rd year that I predicted that. It still did not happen. My prediction went on to say that no consumer would use it because although they executed it poorly.
that tracks. Really, that does track.
I said that the national MLS would be the biggest failure of NAR to date. And really, who could have predicted the volume of failures that NAR would have in 2023? No one, I say. Let's see. And Ray says that real brokerage would double to 16,000 agents by the end of 2023. So we doubled from 4 to 8. And then my prediction was that it would double again from 8 to 16. We are actually only about 13,000 agents. So I didn't quite get that right. But that's still pretty good. And it's not bad. EXP and Real are both growing heavy in agent count, while a lot of the traditional non-cloud brokerages are losing agent count.
Yeah.
And it could be that a bunch of young agents are entering in and a bunch of old agents are exiting, but there's a lot of transfers also taking place, which is very interesting.
People like
Interesting
working from
time in
home
the real
now.
estate industry. Yeah, working from home now and going to a brokerage that supports cloud.
Yep.
A lot of folks are making that move.
Yep.
Hey, Ray, I just put it in the chat. It's called the Data Distribution Facility, the DDF in Canada. It sounds amazing.
DDF. All right, I'm looking this up. Yeah, realtor.ca DDF. Interesting. Managed service for realtors and broker owners who are looking to share listings with multiple third-party websites. Huh.
The DDF is going to
Very
rock
cool.
you.
DDF.
Oh, and the other,
Okay.
the DDF, that's right. And the other thing I found out is that Canadians, they're not worried about Zillow at all, because I guess Zillow is really not a thing in Canada.
Zillow hasn't really made waves in Canada yet. I mean, it's still open for someone to do it, but as long as they have a, oh my goodness, Christina, I'm just seeing this car crash through I'm seeing your photos now because it just moved a window. That is wild. Okay, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Squirrel, but that's a massive. Okay, so I think it's open for someone to take it. The Zillow type banner could be held in Canada, but Canada so far has done a pretty good job with giving the data to consumers, and that's how Zillow made waves here. So. All right, so I'm looking at bold predictions. Drop your bold prediction in the chat. Make sure that you get that. You could also drop it in later if you're on the replay, because I'll definitely see it there as well. Or you could DM it to me. I had a couple of people DM it. That's really hard for me to find later. So I would just say drop it in the chat. All right, so Zach's bold prediction for the year was that the dollar implodes, BlackRock and crypto, third-party affairs. It's a big tinfoil extravaganza for him. Christina said insurance premiums are going to be so high that people are going to be forced to sell due to climate change. And I think, Christina, to expand on that idea a little bit, there's a new way that they're calculating things like flood and potential damage. And they're using future casting, where previously they would use historic numbers. They would say, well, this is a 500-year floodplain because it hasn't flooded here in 500 years. Yep. Now they're saying, well, based on climate data, it looks like this could flood in the next however many years. Therefore, your insurance premium is higher. Now, some would call that a sham to increase insurance premiums based on data that has not been accurate nor perfectly correct.
Correct.
Other people would say, no, it's what's needed to do because we've had a increase in natural disasters that we actually haven't had. It's kind of cyclical.
Well, but the thing is that insurance companies have to mitigate the cost. So if they can justify it by saying this is what future predictions say, models have been telling us this is what we have to do this in order to be profitable and be able to cover the people that are currently insured. I mean, that's their job. So, and flood insurance is on a different policy altogether. So I don't know. That would be FEMA that handles the flood policies.
Yeah, that's what FEMA is now using, the future casting, but they're all able to use future casting now from some legislation that was passed. Previously, they weren't able to use that, but the legislation has been passed to allow them to do it. Dusty said I was right. He booked into and processed. Oh, really? So he was in jail this year? He said Hunter Biden was in jail. That's funny. Okay. He was booked and processed more than once this year. So if you count booked and processed in jail, we'll count it. Okay. So my bold prediction, this is kind of tough because I have a couple in mind. I know that one year I'm going to say this and I'll be right. And then I'll be able to say that I was right. But I also know that if I don't predict it, it's definitely going to happen. If I do predict it, I think it's less likely going to happen because that's how much influence my prediction has, I believe.
Okay.
But I just gotta do it. So NAR has been in such trouble. They're in trouble with consumers. They're in trouble with agents. They're in trouble with legislators. What's the way out of trouble? I mean, they provided a really great end of the year report. That was awesome. But that's not the way out of trouble. The way out of trouble is to provide a tool for consumers that agents can also use that is open and transparent for legislatures.
National
And
MLS.
a national MLS answers the call. So
We've
I'm
all-
going to go with what is this, the fourth straight year? This will be the third year
Yeah.
that Adam Johnson says the way out of trouble is bankruptcy. Dusty Martin says reorganization. Okay.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Total
Hey,
reorganization.
Ray,
But wait,
what
let me
if
finish
NAR
the prediction. So I think my bold prediction for 2024 is finally a national MLS is put in place because their hand is forced by courts, by politicians, by real estate agents that are like, we're out of here unless you do something. Because one of the interesting predictions, and we didn't get to it today, but Ryan Serhant has a series of predictions, and one of them was that comps will be more national now with people's availability where they can move around the country. They're not just going to be looking at, I want to buy a home in LA. What is this little zip code? Or what is this little area? Instead, they're going to be saying, okay, I'm going to work at a company that's in LA and I'm allowed to work anywhere. So let me see the full coast of California. I'm also going to go ahead and check out anywhere in that time zone. I've got a friend that's like, they restricted me to a certain time zone. So anywhere in those time zones, they can be there. So I think with the nationalization of comps, it's going to be very helpful to have a national MLS that all of the real estate agents and brokerages can plug into. But in order to do that, they gotta somehow, the only problem is that the people that are trying to hold the data, the boards that are trying to keep it old school because they don't want anyone else in there. That's the only issue, are the local boards. So if they could solve that issue, then they can help all three of the constituents who they're in trouble with now.
I think the local boards would be more willing to work with the National Association of Realtors over like Zillow and Realtor.com. They would, I think the local boards would pull out of syndicating to those other websites if there was a national MLS from NAR. I think that they would be more participant and have more participants if they did that.
Scappa, as you were saying, just said that he thinks that Zillow buys up the MLS services, and we'll put up that info. ADU, go ahead, man.
No, that's the key. What Christine just said is that I believe that the national MLS, sponsored by NAR is definitely, I think, where we're headed. But as long as the syndication, to Zillow, the direct syndication to Zillow, or any syndication to any company that then Zillow can get that information from, because it's about the speed of the data, right? Zillow is a data company. So if that speed of the data can be circumvented, then the national, MLS is like, it would be amazing. And then I'll just plug it in really quick. My bold prediction is Zillow buys at least one brokerage.
Interesting. Zillow is a brokerage now, so they could buy a brokerage.
Yeah,
I could see them buying something small and just. Adam Johnson reminds us about Realtor.com back in the day. All right. Well, that's all I've got for the predictions. If you're following along, please don't forget to drop your predictions in the comments. We'll bring them out just like we did this year. We'll talk about them. If you're right, you'll get points. If you're wrong, you'll get points deducted. So thanks, everybody, for joining us this week. Christina, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on the old YouTubes at Christina Smallhorn. That's it. I also have a website, ChristinaSmallhorn.com. And if you're looking to build your real estate YouTube channel, I have a course, realestatevideogeeks.com.
Yep. Christina is someone that I go to who graciously answers tons of my questions about titles, thumbnails. If you want to know all the stuff that she knows, go to her course. I highly, highly, highly recommend her. So she knows what she's talking about.
realestatevideogeeks.com. realestatevideogeeks.com.
realestatevideogeeks.com. Elizabeth Nigel says, I predict Ray will have more great shows in 2024. Oh, that's a bold prediction, because I don't know. No, I think it's going to happen. We've got some more stuff coming. So we've made a bit of an investment in the show. We got some more stuff coming in there. So hopefully you guys love it. I'm looking forward to 2024. And I will see you guys next year. Bye.